Hey LAN Party Gamers! We're back with the Alienware laptop. This is the M14x with the 2nd gen i7 that we started refurbishing in the last video, and a lot of people wanted to see us go further with that. So we've got some things that are going to help us with a couple issues. Now if you haven't seen that video or you need a refresher, you might want to go watch that now. But to sum it up, there were some cosmetic issues, and that's mostly what we focused on in the last one. We replaced some plastics, replaced almost every screw in the system, and got rid of a lot of the gunkiness from the deteriorating rubbers and things that were on the palm rests that also made their way to the screens. Now to fix the screens, we did get some Goo Gone, which was suggested to us several times throughout the different comment sections from the different places we posted the video. We also got a couple things to help with the thermal throttling. First off, and probably most importantly, this is the liquid metal we used when we overclocked the 7700K. That got us right up to 5 gigahertz from a stock of around 4.5. So hopefully we can have similar results with stock speeds on this laptop, because at load, this thing doesn't even get up to a gigahertz, and it really bogs down the games we're trying to play. And secondly, I salvaged this laptop stand with a giant fan in the middle, and again, because it got dropped or something, I don't know, it was free, I had to replace most of the screws with larger screws to make their own holes in. So hopefully with this combination of cooling, we're able to get this thing to boost up to what it should be able to do, which is 2 gigahertz or better. That combined with the 1.5 gig video card, we should be seeing a lot better frames than what we were seeing in the previous video, and hopefully by the end of the day we'll be able to play this game not just single player but online and maybe even competitive. But that's shooting for the stars. Let's try to see if we could just take off. So let's undo some of the work we did and get rid of the screws in this laptop and get to the cooling. We got the battery out and all the other screws that I could see that I added, as well as any that were there originally, which was basically just like 1 or 2. And this one, however, got cross-threaded, looks like, into the chassis, so I'm going to have to probably hit that with a Dremel and use a straight standard screwdriver to get that out. I tried vice grips and they just slip. You can see the teeth there a little mangled from when I tried to pull that out. So, well, never said it was going to be easy. Well, in the end, I got the hard drive, DVD drive adapter out, but the screw definitely won. I basically just made it into a peg now. I don't think it's going to matter. It's held in by 3 other screws, and this side's got 2 pegs, so that's going to be in there. Oh well, nobody's going to know unless they watch this video. And with the RAM, the hard drive out, the Wi-Fi module out, I think that is every screw on this side. So I believe by watching the teardown menu, I have to flip it over and start removing the stuff on the keyboard side. Alright, so we got the keyboard off, we got the shroud around it, and all the other screws that I could find, and this should just lift off. I had to unglue a little bit of our fix here, but here we go. Getting all these ribbon cables back together is going to be a treat, so I'll have to follow the guide for that. But there's the motherboard, there's our cooling fan, and the CPU is on the other side, so we're gonna have to take this apart even further to get that thermal paste applied. Alright, and there it is. So there's your CPU and GPU and the heat pipes. I mean, that's why we have so many cooling issues. It's literally all of that 4 threads, 4 cores, 8 threads, and a GPU with 2 measly little heat pipes that have a little bit of corrosion on them. So, who knows? Maybe a new thermal paste won't be enough, but at least we will give it a try. We cleaned it off. It had some, not as much thermal paste as I thought it was going to have on there. I think it may have been reapplied once already, but I don't think the amount was enough to really saturate the kind of gaps and scratches you see here on the GPU. The CPU looks pretty mirrored though, so that's a good sign. And time to get the liquid metal out. Okay, that should be enough right there. And just like in our previous liquid metal video, we're going to spread it out with our brush and try to get every nook and cranny of this thing covered. But we're also going to put a little bit on the heat spreader as well, so that they meld a little bit better than just straight copper to dye. And hopefully that gives a little bit better heat transfer. Wow, I did it without any screws extra. So now time to see if it boots and if I didn't destroy anything in the process. I was a little rough with a couple of the ribbon cables, so that's what I'm most worried about, to be honest. Okay, I plugged the power back in and the Alienware button lit up, so hopefully that's a good sign. Hey, keyboard's lit up, screen's powering on, there's the Alienware logo. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm seeing a drop in ambient temperature of like 20 degrees here. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but if I bring up core temp here, our max temperature that's allowable is 100 degrees Celsius, and we're sitting at a max core temp of 43. Our lowest core temp right now is 39. When we were idling last time with maybe one program open, we were hitting 65. So we're going to let the system warm up a little bit, maybe open up Chrome or let some games patch and see what the idle temp is. But so far, so good. And I don't even feel the fan kicking in yet, so we're looking good so far. Alright, so I went ahead and opened up a white MS Paint file so you can kind of see the specs on the screen. And I've got Goof Off as suggested, or Gugon. I think it's basically the same thing, but it's good for dried latex paints, drips and splatters, glues, adhesives, sticker residue, candle wax, grease, you name it. So we're gonna give this a try and see how well this does as advertised. Good amount sprayed onto a paper towel here, and we're gonna try this big splotch right there. Oh wow, this stuff works. Wow, I didn't even have to scrub or rub or anything. This is great. Well, thank you everybody who insisted I try this in the previous comments. Wow, that's ridiculous. There's a couple that are like underneath the screen that obviously we're not taking apart the screen to get to, because that would be silly, but Alright, we went ahead and swapped the RAM out between this old Acer AMD system and our Alienware, giving us our 8 gigs of maximum RAM here. And because this Acer system was only using 6 gigs, so figure why not put the 6 gigs from here and swap them out. And it looks like they're both booting, so that's a good sign. One other thing I noticed, when booting this system without this panel on here, having to suck air through this gaps, the system turbos up to like well over 2 gigahertz. I saw it hit, I see there, almost 2.4 gigahertz, and it's nice and cool. It was in the 50s and 60s, and yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out these grills and see if we can't get that kind of airflow, especially when that new fan comes. Okay, we've taken it apart another time. Here's the old fan, and you can see that it has a lot of fins, and we got the new one coming in today, so I wanted to make sure and have this ready. And I managed to not lose any screws. That's good. And so I mean, it's a lot to take this thing apart. They made some parts easy to get to, like the RAM and the battery and stuff. But I guess they weren't expecting people to do all this to fix their thermal issues. So time to take this fan out and put the new one in when it gets here today. And look at all the dust in this old fan. You couldn't see it from the outside, but this thing was clogged to hell. Okay, well that alone might cause our issues. This thing wasn't... Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Well, shoot. This kind of makes all of our previous testing with this old fan kind of nullified, doesn't it? Oh well. Well, with the old fan here, we got to not quite 80 degrees Celsius and on the CPU, and here's the R2 fan. That should just be a drop-in replacement for it. And we're going to see what the temperature gets to in PUBG. That's this game that seems to be ramping this thing up the most as far as temperature goes, and see if it makes a big difference. Fingers crossed. Alright, hello again, Reflection. Time to try out BIOS settings to see if we can't push any more power through our newly found cooling. Hitting F2 to set up. Cool, made it. And let's see what we got. So this thing is running the newest BIOS. I did have it, make sure it was upgraded all the way. So we're A08. And speed step is disabled, so that way it always runs a little quicker. Let's see, turbo mode is enabled. We want that. Now, when I click performance options, here's where the weird thing. If I hit enter, the BIOS freezes. I can't go up, down, left, right, and I'm not sure what the reason for that is. So I'd like to be able to play with that, but I don't know if they disabled that for some reason or not. So that's a shame. Maybe some Googling will have to ensue. Alright, shout out to the BIOS Mods forum for this. Apparently you have to have an unlocked version of the BIOS for this motherboard, and that forum led me to Tech Inferno, where a SVL7 or SVI7 was great enough to post the links for a modded BIOS, and it includes a SATA fix, so that might help us with our loading times on either the SSD or the hard drive, or hopefully both. So unfortunately these are donate BIOSes, so you do have to donate to the forum in order to get these. So hopefully this is a $6 well spent. Alright, we went ahead and installed MSI Afterburner. We've got all this thermal headroom with removing all that gunk, and as you can see, our GPU temp at idle is 43, our CPU temp 49 just after boot, and I was able to crank up both the core and memory clocks to their full amount, and our BIOS that we installed should have the power limits unlocked too. Can't adjust them here, but we're just going to trust that it's working. And I think the stock clock on this this GPU was in the 500s, and we're now looking at 770. So let's fire up some games and see what happens. Okay. This is crazy. 145 FPS. What? I was getting like 21, 30 FPS before on this. I mean, thermal throttling is not even 204 FPS? This is ridiculous. Liquid Metal has just saved this laptop. I can actually turn these back up if I want to, but we'll keep everything on low for now. We're running at 720p, and basically everything turned all the way down. A little hitch there. That might have been the hard drive, though. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the obstacle course. I mean, out here I was getting about under 10 FPS. I'm getting 115. This is crazy. All right. 15. All right, we're gonna try Rocket League again, and in the loading screen here, I'm getting 1920 FPS, but if you remember in game, we were only getting like 6, and already before the match loads, we're in the 70s. That's a 10 times jump on our FPS from last time. So I'm going to go ahead and start the bot match, and we're sitting at 67 FPS. Oh, baby. Down to 30. I mean, this is playable. Look at this. This was not playable at all before. Holy crap. If I can get a goal, well, I mean, I'm already calling this a win, even with that USB port that broke. But that was broken when I got it. So at least I didn't happen to break it. Yeah, good enough. All right, so while the game is going and the bots are playing, we're gonna go ahead and cut to the desktop and see what the temperature is. 75 degrees. We are 20 degrees short of our highest limit last time. Right now, our highest temps we've gotten so far in game have only been 77 degrees on our hottest core. Yeah, I'd say liquid metal was worth it. And look at that, the bots scored all by themselves. Here we are in Overwatch, a game that wouldn't even boot correctly before, and it sees the GeForce 555M, so that's cool. So we're gonna go ahead and put it on the same display settings that we've been using for our other tests, which is 720, and turning off all of this stuff. We're not gonna limit the FPS because we wanna see it do what it can do. Graphics quality is low. Let's see, make sure everything is as low as it can go for now. And then if we can raise it, we will. And low, 1x. And apply. And let's see, we'll do a restart of the game and see how it plays. And training, practice range. I know it's a little hard to read right now, but I'm showing 50 FPS here on the loading menu with a GPU temperature of 73 degrees Celsius. We'll go ahead and just select a temp character. Well, it's working. I've got an FPS of, looks like 63, 72 FPS. GPU temp holding steadily at 75. I wonder if that's max temp for this GPU. And we're just going to keep trying to get it loaded up here. 76 FPS. All right, just to prove that it is not needing the render scale, we've gone ahead and put it at native 720p. Remember, this is a 900p screen, so we can do 900, but I'm keeping everything at 720 just to make sure the temperatures stay in check. And we're going to do that again. Our FPS only dropped a few. We're now sitting comfortably in the 50s and low 60s. With the GPU temperature has gone up a bit. It is at 81 degrees Celsius. And here in a second, we'll be able to test out our Farah ult and see just what happens when all that stuff is on the screen. All right, here we go. Up we go. I barely got into the 50s on that, and the temperature is up to 83. So I think 720p native, if everything else is turned down, is no issue for Overwatch here. Not bad. Well, it doesn't seem like switching out between the old fan and the new fan changed my overall high temps right now. My idle temp is definitely lower. I'm in the middle of a PUBG training match, and I'm sitting at 71 CPU, 63 GPU. That's with the overclock on the GPU maxed out and the GPU memory up to 1.1 gigahertz. And the CPU is going all the way up to 2.35 gigahertz turbo. So that's a good sign. And I mean, it seems to be running well. We're running PUBG at about 20 FPS. That's everything on all low. I think it's running at the native resolution. And before we added the new thermal compound, we were only getting about 1 FPS. So I think the biggest thing was repasting it with the liquid metal and then making sure that all that dust and debris between here and the fins is gone. So I think we're gonna call it. So it plays Crisis. Not bad.